Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode. Welcome to another episode of the Fair Chase podcast. Not our strongest start. Glad to have you here. I got Jared here on the line. We've got a good episode today. Second half, we'll be talking with Tuo and talking a little bit about spring layering and gear for just having the right stuff for spring hunting. So we'll have some cool stuff there, and then we'll see what happens when you do it right, because we'll do some podcasting here with Joe when he gets back from his Montana bear hunt. Yeah, he's coming back with like a pile of meat, turkey and bear. He had probably one of the best single days of hunting I think he's ever had, so that will be fun. But before we talk about layering and stuff, I wanted to just jump on here and talk about one kind of prep thing that we've touched on in the past, specifically like getting your bow ready or like fixing it or whatever. I'll get into that in a second. Before we do, got to check in with you, Jared. How are you today?
I'm good, man. Just on the lunch break. Just had a delicious burrito.
Did you go to Taco John's?
No, man. So I work downtown, kind of Grand Rapids area, and there's a lot of very authentic Hispanic restaurants in the area, and I have a little go-to place that I go, and it's just I haven't eaten anything there that I didn't like.
Really?
So,
what was your?
I would say 80% of the time when I go there, I just get a standard dry chicken burrito with everything on it.
Why? How does it become wet again? I don't remember.
You put a special sauce on there. Everyone's different. There's this kind of, it's almost like they dump a bottle of, I don't know, just like salsa on it. And it's nothing special.
Yeah.
But
do you bring your own hand mixed Taco Bell sauce that we reverse engineered in college?
the quesadilla sauce that we found out how to make?
Yeah. Do you want to spill the secrets as to how to make it?
It's just basically through science and engineering from James and I. It's mayonnaise and Taco Bell sauce.
Hot sauce, yeah. You mix them together. You know, I've seen Jared pour a little mayonnaise in his mouth, a little hot sauce, swish it around, gargle it a little bit, and then take a bite of a burrito. Yeah.
No, you're gross. This other place has usually about 4 different sauces that they'll give with you, like ranging from spicy levels, but they got a really good like creamy cilantro and then a verde and then 2 other nice Roja type sauces that are
not bad. You know, it's not bad. I'm worried that it's gonna go to your hips. Like, are you still staying in shape for like hunting season and you're staying svelte?
No, I'm embracing the full dad bod, the full spare tire. It's there.
Look good. You gotta go. You know what? I was I was at your house the other night talking to Lori, Jared's wife, and we were talking about, I don't remember what we were saying, but I found out she was a runner in high school and college and had run a 5-minute flat mile, was like 5:0 something. And that's incredible. Like, it kind of, as I've like reflected it, I'm like, I can't, forever I've been saying, you know, I was in the 5:30, 5:45 range, and I felt like really good about that. But like that's crushed. Like, Lori crushed my time.
Oh yeah. I mean, she's back in like high school, college days when she was running a lot. I mean, she was a stud. But she took first at high school state and then went on to D1 cross country with a bunch of other people, and it's just she can run me into the ground. Although I will say that when I last ran the Riverbank run here in Grand Rapids, they had a special class called the Clydesdale class.
Oh yeah, Clydesdale.
And you had
over 200.
You had to be a certain weight in order to be in the Clydesdales. I placed in the top 10.
Did you really?
I did, yeah. So that's the only running competition that I can brag to her about and actually feel good about it. All other ones, she could kick my ass the whole time.
How are you guys on bikes?
You mean like mountain bikes, like a triathlon type?
Yeah, because I'm thinking like she's a great runner. You are a great swimmer. Like, do you like those are great genes to pass on to your 4 children? You've got now 4 shots at, you know,
can pedal.
Yeah, I mean, I guess anybody can pedal. Somebody's gonna write in and let us know how hard biking is.
I'll flex a little more. When I was stationed in Okinawa, they had an open kind of like mini triathlon, and I was in the mountain bike division because I didn't have a road bike.
Oof.
And so it was like, I don't even know how far. It was only like a 300-yard swim, maybe a 10-mile bike, and a 3-mile run. I won it. Just saying.
Yeah. You know, you've always been an athlete, Jared, and you know, you say you got the dad bod, but you look good, you know.
Thanks, buddy.
And I feel like all that to say is you're an excellent athlete, and I believe in you. And your wife is a more excellent athlete, I found out.
Mm-hmm.
I've been running. I was kind of like talking to her about it, feeling pretty good. I'm like, yeah, I'm running a couple, 12 some miles a week, and and she's like, she kind of puts me to shame, but part of getting ready. One thing I want to jump on here, and this is kind of, Jared and I were talking about this a couple nights ago. Recently shooting my bow, and my rest broke. Like, part of the launcher broke. I'm shooting, getting ready for turkey season, and my arrows literally start hitting like 5 feet in front of the target. And at first I'm like, did I, what happened? Did my arrow break? Did something wrong with my bow? Figured out it was the launcher. Ended up kind of replacing chunks of the sight or the rest myself, so I didn't have to retie it and reserve it and everything else, put it in the string and everything. But what that meant was I had to get it tuned up and ready to go again. And so wanted to take a few minutes today just to walk everybody through like a few of the things that I'll do just to keep my bow, to get it tuned and then to keep it tuned. This might be a repeat or like old knowledge to some people, but I at least wanted to say like what has really worked well for me, especially because I just had to do it. Was thinking about it. And I was like, we should probably talk about it. It's questions we'll get sometimes about bow tuning, especially around broadhead tuning and so on. OnX is the title sponsor of our podcast here at the Fair Chase, and it's a must-have app for all of us who love to explore the outdoors. Whether you're hunting or hiking or fly fishing, OnX gives you detailed, accurate maps right at your fingertips. With property boundaries, topographical features, and trail data, you'll always know where you are and where you're headed. You'll also likely be able to figure out where that big buck is headed to. Plus, their offline maps mean you're covered even in the most remote locations. OnX is the ultimate tool for outdoor navigation, making every adventure safer and more enjoyable. Download OnX today and explore with confidence. For me, it's a pretty simple 3-step process. And this is what I just walked through on my Hoyt RX-8 for the year. So first things first is obviously you get everything tied in, which for me, it was already tied in fairly close. You get to the paper tuning stage. So what I do is, what most people do is I start running my arrows through paper. This year I had gotten something called the paper tuner, all one word. It's kind of like just like it's like a roll of paper that slides through a little window. So you can just keep pulling it through. It's got a chart on the outside to show you, if you were tearing to the right or the left, what it looks like. So here, let me do this a second. I'll share my screen.
That's beautiful.
I'm going to show you. Can you see?
Oh yeah, I got you.
Can you see the whole thing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this is, I think, from Archery Talk. I didn't make it, but it gives you a sense of like you shoot it through paper. Basically, what you do is you walk like 10 feet away. And a lot of times shops will do this for you. If they do, that's great. One thing I would point out is some shops will shoot for you to tune it. I would recommend you be the one shooting it because you'll probably shoot different. And if, people have better or worse form, and everybody's the same. And I found that I'll shoot and I'll tune differently than somebody else probably because I have terrible form. But at least I'm consistent. So 6 to 10 feet away, you throw an arrow through. I've got this chart here that'll show you like you Google this, it's all over the internet. It's the easiest thing to find. But basically what you're doing is you're checking how an arrow passes through paper and if it's kicking out to the left, to the right, up or down. This butthole looking thing is where the arrow goes in, and then the it'll show basically if it's high or low, how you adjust. Basically, like if your nock is hitting to the left, you move your rest to the right. sometimes you get into some timing issues and spine issues. That wasn't anything I had to deal with because I didn't have any issues like that. Mine was purely rest issues. I was kind of installing a rest. So I'll run through paper tuning first. Pretty easy. You shoot a few times, you check your tear, you do it again, and you want that perfect bullet hole. Some people will do bare shaft tuning and stuff. I've never really got too far into that. Haven't had any problems without it. But again, this is step one, paper tuning. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen if I can figure out how. I'm back. There we go.
Nice.
Second is something a little different. I don't think everybody does it. I don't know a ton of people who do, but I've found it to work really well. It's like French tuning, or I like to think of it as freedom tuning, Jimmy tuning. So basically what you do is you set up a target, and you create this, like, I guess it's like a plumb bob. You hang string with a weight down the middle of your target. You go, you walk like 3 yards away, real close. And then you shoot a few arrows into your target trying to hit the string. And basically where the arrow hits relative to the string, you'll adjust your rest one side or the other. So I think if you hit to the right, you move to the left and vice versa. Eventually you either want to be like so close on both sides you're touching it, or you hit the string. When I just did it, I was doing it in my garage at my target, and I hit the string a couple times, and I think two of the times that I hit it, it actually bounced my arrow out of the target. Like, it hit the string and then like bounced it back. It sounded like a gunshot went off in my
Really?
garage. Yeah.
It
So
didn't cut the string?
It didn't cut the string, but I've got fairly like thick field points, like kind of more rounded, and they just, I think it's sharp on the tip, but it's too like, it's not like a slow, pointy. It's more like a blunt point, if that makes sense. And so you'll do that, right? You shoot about 3 yards, and you'll adjust your sight. You'll look at it, and then what I'll do is I'll move out to like 10 yards, and then I'll do the same thing. But on that one, you like I said, you kind of adjust again one side or the other with your sight. So you're kind of going back and forth. You go close, you adjust, make the adjustment, you go back, you make the adjustment to your sight, then you go back to 3 yards again to make sure. Basically what you're trying to do is align your sight and your pin depending on how your bow is tuned. So it takes a little while, but what I found is if I do that, like in between that and paper tuning, my field points are flying like about as good as they get. I'm not sure if this is like extraneous, like extra work that you don't need to do, but it's something that I've done quite a bit and it works really well for me. Okay, so say we've got, say our bow is paper tuned, French/freedom tuned. The next final step is getting your bow broadhead tuned. And, we've talked about this in the past, but for a while I avoided shooting fixed broadheads and actually would go find broadheads that advertised that they would shoot like field points, so that I wouldn't have to deal with broadhead tuning, because it seemed daunting and just a lot of work, and I don't really know why, but it felt like a pretty big barrier, so I tried to avoid it. So last couple of years I've been shooting fixed points, so I'm like, hey, I just have to learn. I feel like for all the things we do in the outdoors, we should know how to do basic things like broadhead tuning. So here's what I do. So set up a target, grab a few arrows with field points, grab a few arrows with broadheads. And usually I'll start at like 20 yards, and I'll do this 20, 40, maybe 60 yards to just make sure I'm extremely dialed. But I would start, a lot of things online will say start by shooting your field points first, then your broadheads, and compare where they're hitting with each other. I've found that I like to shoot the broadheads first, because if you shoot field points first and your broadheads are actually close, you have a high likelihood of shaving off your fletching. And so I try to do broadheads first. So anyways, you shoot them down, both sets down, and you compare them where they're hitting. Sometimes, I've had it where like broadheads are all over the place, and I didn't install them right, or they're loose or whatever. But assuming they're tight, they're installed right, your broadheads look good. You basically go and see how they're hitting based on where you're aiming. So you'll oftentimes have to either adjust vertically or horizontally. Vertically, if your broadheads are hitting higher than your field points or lower, you need to adjust the vertical positioning of your nocking point or the arrow rest itself. You can move your arrow rest up or down. And if it's left or right, you can move your rest to the left or to the right. So a good rule of thumb is, so like basically you move the rest in the direction you want the arrows to go. So if your broadheads are hitting left, move the rest to the right. That's just something to keep in mind. It's easy to forget, but super important. So I'll do that at 20 yards. I'll kind of get them narrowed in where they're hitting the same way. I'll do it again at 40 and 60. It didn't take me too long this time around. After doing a paper tune and a French tune, I almost was dialed right out of the gate. Just very minor adjustments made. But now, I'll go out and I'm shooting fixed blade broadheads that are almost 2 inches, like those big dogs I was showing you. And the other day I was shooting them in the wind, and like they didn't have that much trouble. So all that to say is, like, you get a fine shooting arrow, you get it dialed in those 3 steps, you can shoot a fairly big fixed blade broadhead, which is, like I said, what I was using for turkeys, looking at maybe using them for deer, making a big hole, right? And you're going to have great accuracy. So I did that prior to the turkey season, because like a couple days before turkey season started, my bow got, my rest broke. So got that done. It took me maybe an afternoon, not even, maybe an hour. So we'll get some questions about tuning your bow. Everybody does it different. If you do a Google search, you go on Archery Talk or Rock Slide or whatever, people have a million different ways of doing it. People in the shop have. So I figured we would share kind of the basic 3-step process that we do to get that set up. So like I said, want to take some time to talk about that today. Well, thanks for jumping on. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll jump into the second part of this episode in just a second, and appreciate you guys tuning in.
This episode is also brought to you by 2O Gear, innovators in technical hunting clothing. 2O is a newer company. It's based right here in Michigan, and whether you're hunting elk in the mountains or chasing antelope in the plains or traipsing through swamps after that ruddy buck, 2O has you covered with premium jackets and pants, merino wool layers, everything you could possibly need to stay comfortable in the woods. Their products are engineered for functionality and durability, ensuring you stay protected in any conditions. Plus, their camo is really effective. We're big fans. So don't take our word for it, though. Go to 2ogear.com and check it out.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. I'm excited today to bring back a guest maybe some of you are familiar with. So Aaron Ambur, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, James. Good. Glad to catch up with you again.
Yeah, no, likewise. So everybody listening, we're kind of in a series right now, or just a chunk of episodes that we're doing that are going to be focused specifically on, like, how can we help you just help you get ready for hunting season, get ready for spring and everything else. So, if you can remember, we talked everything from setting up your bow to packing for out west, flying or driving. We talked meat care. We just have recorded stuff around even applications and ways that we think, we can help you there. And so, I wanted to bring you on, Aaron, as the president and CEO of 2O. Is that the correct title?
Yeah, it's good enough for today.
Head honcho at 2O, because what I wanted to talk about specifically today is the gear that you're wearing when you're hunting in the spring, because hunting in the spring just has a little bit of a different challenge. And everybody that listens to us knows that maybe we're biased. We wear 2O. You guys are based in Michigan. We're huge fans. But I thought it would be helpful just to have you on to talk about spring hunting and especially like the gear that you wear in the woods.
Yeah, that sounds like a good conversation today for sure, James.
Sure. So, we've talked a little bit about 2O in the past, but maybe you want to give everybody just a quick overview of what 2O is, kind of what you guys are about.
Yeah, so 2O Gear is what you're listening to today. And, certainly we're a super focused company on technical, outdoor hunting gear. So when you think about that, it's like, okay, technical hunting gear. So I'm going to break that down just quickly. And that is simply stated that we are designing and have put gear available and for the customer that's attuned, if you will, to the end use. And so we believe that mobility if I was to anchor one word in mobility, is that stretch, articulation, and fit is a key cornerstone of the brand. And if you think about any time you're out in the woods, whether it's spring turkey hunting, bear hunting, or if it's fall activity, you're making a lot of steps in the woods. You're running and gunning, hustling up the hill, getting down. And every time you're moving your legs, drawing back your bow, hopping over a deadfall, you're making movement. So this mobility and stretch of materials is less friction, is less fatigue. Less fatigue is longer all day hunts. So yeah, we're definitely, focused on that. Technical fit, technical fabrication, needless to say, our camo pattern as well, part of making you effective. And then certainly being able to handle multiple conditions, which, James, I'm excited to talk about it today because springtime is, I tell you, unlike any season, if you think about, the variability of conditions one can face.
Yeah, I mean, totally agree. I mean, turkey hunting alone is a great example. So for me, and Jared and Joe, what we'll often do is you start, you put a bird to bed. The next morning, you go sneak up, figure out where he's going to fly down, and you hunker down, right? So there's an element of walking and sitting and it's often pretty cold. Usually I like to go earlier in the season, and man, I've said it on the podcast before, but some of the coldest I've ever been is like on like an April spring turkey hunt, snowing in the morning or whatever. So you factor in the sitting and staying warm and stationary for a little while, but then, say a gobbler flies down, goes the other way, you stand up. And if you're like me and you hunt public land, that's like, all right, now I got to stand up and get moving to somewhere else. And so you combine that with, where it's wet outside and then you're sitting and moving. It's just like a lot of variability that you need to be able to handle with clothes.
Yeah, I'd almost argue more variability than the whitetail woods even. And it's a little close to, I would tell you early October out west hunt as well, because you don't know if it's going to be sunny and 70 or if it's going to be raining and 30, or you just don't know what to expect. And I would tell you that I think that slides right into the puck as relates to 2.0 gear, because we really have a simplified, even though it's multiple silhouettes, it covers you from that 70-degree situation to I got to hunker down and it's spitting out and I need to keep dry from, light rain when you're out chasing turkeys. Or, James, I'm thinking about, in preparation for this call, thinking about my spring bear hunts that I went on to. So think about most spring bear hunts. If you're going to Canada, they're starting, from May 1st to early June. And, thinking about when those bears are exiting, their dens, and you could have literally snow or really cold weather in early May, or even in late May, you could be like, hey, I'm planning on going bear hunting. I'm just going to take like midweight stuff, but you really can't. You need to take from a rain shell, if you will, to base layer, to a soft shell, to even a lightweight merino when it gets warm out. Because again, that bear hunting looked almost very similar to turkey hunting.
Yeah,
you really need to have the ensemble, and I can't tell you. I would liken it to probably early elk season in October, early gun season. You just never know what you're going to get. And that's the last thing you want to do is be on a hunt and just not have proper gear to hunt what you think is going to happen. But I tell you what, spring has more variability than I think most fall seasons do.
Yeah, and what I found this year especially, that Clement Puffy was so perfect because it oftentimes it'd be, I'm not usually going to go out and sit if it's pouring rain, but if it's drizzling or drizzle snow or whatever, like wet snow, sleet type of deal, and then it's going to dry up and the sun's going to come out, well, you want to be out there and, you still can have great success that way. So it's like you need something that keeps you warm, that keeps the rain off. And man, that Clement Puffy, which I've talked about on this podcast before, and I wear it a lot. It's like it can keep you dry. It's it's fairly water resistant and warm. So I wore that a lot, and will be and on some spring bear stuff too.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the combination of styles that you can wear, it's not like you're thinking about packing multiple layers on in a way in which it gets bulky. The nice thing, what came to mind, James, when you're talking about the Clement Puffy jacket, it is the thermal value of that to the weight, it's off the charts. Very light, very packable, and it's not much of a layer, but the thermal reaction or benefit you get is not incomparable to the bulk that you put on it. So you put that over a merino when you're getting cold, hunkering down. I mean, it's what you want to do. Keep warm, yet keep like you can move around and run and gun. And if you have to shed it, it's pretty easy to shed and zip in its pocket and throw it in your backpack.
Yeah, which is exactly what I did. Throw it in the backpack, wore the hoodie merino, and I like the crew neck one underneath, the lighter one, and between those three things, and occasionally I'll throw like that grid underneath there. But that got me through quite a bit of miles, and like you said, it's a mix of sitting and staying, trying to stay warm, and then covering a ton of miles. So like on average, I think I was averaging like 10 miles a day of walking just for turkey hunting here in Michigan on public land, because you get to one spot and it's like, all right, here's where they are, and it's like, okay, I need to go to another spot, and it's easier just to walk than drive. So you walk there and it's like, okay, I'm following this you end up walking so much, or at least I do. Maybe I'm just a bad turkey hunter, which is probably a little bit the case, but it's nice to have stuff that moves with you and kind of just thermal regulates a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And then, you talk about, the variability of the situations there, like I was talking about the bear hunting thing. And you think about if you're going out west chasing bears in the Rocky Mountains, or you're up going to Saskatchewan or Alberta, I've been hunting up at the Peace River a couple times. You're going and literally you're going to hunt no matter what the conditions. And so I'm thinking about even my past about, you're sitting in the rain for bear many times. You're not like, well, today, we're going to stay in the tents today because it's raining. You are actually sitting, if you're sitting on bait, which is most of what I've done. I'm not done a lot of spot and stock, which is more mobile. You're definitely dressing warm and taking your rain gear, packing it in. You might put it on. The wind might blow. You think about the thermal protection of the rainproof, or you might wear the soft shell jacket. You're always probably wearing a base layer when you're spring bear hunting, even in the spot and stock situation.
Yeah. For the spot and stock, I mean, like for me, at least the way that, I typically do it is you get to a spot, you sit down for a lot of the day. You got to stay warm there. And then when you see one, it's like, oh, everything changes and you're like sprinting, crawling, trying to get in place. It's like a lot of sitting and then a ton of movement in a short period of time.
Well, and I think what's nice about our assortment, again, I would take personally about 80% of it to the field, whether I was, turkey hunting or if I'm certainly in the bear deal. And what's nice is it's not super complicated. We've been selling quite a few merino lightweight pants right now, which is a great pant for, later springtime, if you will. Definitely our 250 kinetic merino hoodie, the puffy Clement jacket that you're referencing, James, the soft shell jacket, and then in a rain piece as well. I mean, there's kind of have to think about your next to skin, and then think about your thermal adjustment layers, and then think about your shells. So I'd put the rain and the soft shell kind of in that shell arena, and then I'd think about what are you going to use for a midweight piece. That could be the puffy, it could be the hybrid jacket. So there's a few options there, but it's not a lot, which also makes it simple to make a decision on what you're going to take.
Yeah, totally agree. I wore those merino pants the entire turkey season. Lightweight, so comfortable and just nice. And honestly, I also found it easy to pick ticks off of it. The color, even though it's like kind of a brown, like it wasn't too, or green or whatever color that is, was very easy to find ticks. So that's handy too.
Well, and, probably my favorite pant for turkey hunting is probably the climb pant. And so the difference, as you know, James, from the merino, not as durable, a little lighter weight, a little bit more hustle pant. I like the climb pant because it just has a little bit more thermal value, and more importantly, it's got a little more durability. So if you're going through a bunch of briars and thickets and trying to cut off some turkeys, want just a little bit more durability, definitely the climb pants is another all around. You can't go wrong, not only for turkey hunting, bear hunting, but everyday use as well. It's I put it to work every day doing food plots, planting corn and beans on the farm right now too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly the way I think about it. You get a little bit of there's a trade-off with the merino and the climb pants. And I go back and forth, but I'll say I mean, I've got some little loops and runs in the Merino the pants that I've been running here, but like they hold up pretty well. So the velocity is the word I'm trying to think of. Velocity Merino pants. So have been a fan so far. The other thing that I found nice, and I saw this in play, sitting and having deer walk by. I had like a line of 20 deer come by, which is what always happens when you're turkey hunting, but. They're kind of just around, and I'm ready to get up and move. And so I'm ready. I'm just kind of screwing around. I'm like, I wonder how much I can get away with. I'm sitting against a tree. They're probably 60 yards away. So I stand up. They kind of like look my way, but they're like looking through me, and I'm like, that's weird. So I sit back down. They don't really even hardly notice. Stand up. I'm like, they're not seeing me. So I'm waving my arms. I'm just trying to do different things to see like, what can they pick up? What can't they with this camo? Because, it's always kind of fun to see how your camo works in the woods. And man, it was surprising how well it works, because it seems like up close it's a good camo because it's got those details, but far away you've got those big blockier patterns that make you just kind of blend into everything around you rather than like blobbing you into being a brown color or whatever from a distance.
Yeah, James, that's a great point. And we're referring to the Verse camo. And, as we talked about, for people who've studied the brand, have heard about it, Verse means versatile. So, we talk about in the West, it's good from, your rock faces to your alpine, to your subalpine, to, I tell a lot of stories about chasing antelope in it, to some of the imagery. James, that I've seen, we've had some people out, recording turkey hunts, and to see the camera and that camo. To your point, it has great shelf level detail. In other words, not very far from the garment. It's got some greens and browns, lights, dark, and then you get away from it. And it just really, disrupts your human form. So I've been super stoked. We've had great feedback so far this spring turkey season. For a Western hunting brand that, you can take it anywhere clearly, and we'll do some exciting things this fall, and to see some of the success out there turkey hunting has been fabulous. But I just wish I was bear hunting as well this spring, but I'm not. So
quick shout out to another amazing sponsor of ours, Kifaru International. If you're like us and love hunting in some of the toughest places, you know how crucial having the right gear is. Kifaru makes some of the toughest, most reliable backpacks and tents out there, and it's all made right here in America. Whether you're hunting in the backcountry or headed to your favorite deer stand, Kifaru has you covered. Keep your eyes out this year, especially as they're launching a ton of amazing new products like the new Arc frame that just came out. So next time you gear up for an adventure, make sure to check out Kifaru International.
Yeah, have you been out turkey hunting yet this year?
No, I haven't. Our season is opening May 4th for the tag I have. So my son just finished up college. So I know he's itching to go kill something from all this frustration from finals at college. So we're getting close to chasing turkey. So that's coming up pretty soon.
There's almost no better way to blow off some exam steam than, putting a gobbler down. So he was done with college. Now where'd he go?
No, well, he just finished his junior year. He's at Michigan, so he just took his finals here, and he's got one more year there. And our biggest debate right now is like, AJ, are we gonna go sit next to a tree, run and gun, try to kill one with a shotgun, or what are we doing? Trying to be like, hey, let's go do the shotgun thing.
Yeah.
But he's like me when I was his age. He's like, well, Dad, I haven't really killed one with a bow. I've killed a couple of crossbow and a couple of shotgun, but I really want to do this bow thing. So that's going to take a little bit different tactics, as for archery. We'll probably do some blind hunting, if you will. So again, another stationary activity. It's cold right now in the mornings, gets nice and warm during the day. So as you said, you're just not expecting that in the spring. You're like, you think you can wear midweight, and you're like, man, I don't want to be cold sitting here waiting for the fly down, and you got some breeze coming. And so I'm excited though, for sure.
That is awesome. So he's not out, protesting or anything at you. I saw that there's some of that going on there. He's not one of those guys.
No, I asked him a little bit about that and about the disruption. He goes, I wasn't too bad. And he just kind of shook his head, and he's man a few words, So no, he wasn't out doing that wild stuff, which is just that take us down another whole path.
I was going to say, I was waiting for you to post on your Instagram, son getting arrested like all these college kids. It's not, yeah. Well, anyways, no, that's awesome. No, it's springtime. I mean, we're having a blast ourselves this spring. It felt weird because I was out and Jared had tagged out early, and he's a great caller. So I'm like, hey, come call for me. We're going to put you behind me, and we're going to get the camera guy out, and we're going to do the whole thing. And so we did that, and I didn't know it. So he's behind calling me, and I'm just locked in. We got a gobbler in a tree roosted. We're all ready to go. And he'll call, and then I'll call, and we're firing this bird up. Little did I know, a coyote had come in behind me. And I don't hear great, and I usually can't tell where sound comes from, but he came right up behind me, and I think he saw my decoy, then ended up seeing me and peeling off. And normally, like, that coyote is in play, but this year in Michigan, like, we got the season's closed down now, so you can't even like get a side coyote on a turkey hunt anymore, which would have been sweet. Would have been nice.
Well, you think about that this time of year, so not only trying to kill turkey, but you're also thinking a lot about preservation of the hatch. So you think about the coons and the disruption that, they're fixing on all these eggs, and you got coyotes running around. So yeah, that whole coyote thing, that's a little bit of a tenuous topic as well.
Oh, man.
And, I think a lot more people need to be trapping coons and killing coyotes, for preservation of our turkey population.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that we like to do all year round, and like it gets pretty good right now. I can't say I have done a lot of research in the background of it and really understand the reason for it, especially knowing the group that brought it up. So usually that's something that I'll have to ask Joe. Joe seems to always have the scuttle, so I'll check in with him.
Well, we were talking about it the other day, and I feel like I'm so loose on the facts. I really don't know much outside it's changed, and we were just talking internally here about like, well, why? Because you always kind of want to know the why. Because is it there's too few of them? Breeding seasons pass. Something that you probably have a podcast on, just, digging down and peeling some layers of the onion off. Yeah.
Yeah. Because coyotes are funny. Like, they're an animal that you put a little bit of pressure on their population through hunting, and they actually respond biologically by reproducing more. And so unless you're out truly trapping a ton, you're not really doing much to reduce the population. You're only enhancing it. So, to see that it's closed down, it's like, we are definitely not hurting. Our coyote population is definitely not hurting in Michigan. In fact, I see more now than I ever have, and hear them and everything else. So it's just, like I said, we'll have to dig into that at some point. It's probably a good point. But
we had a little debate here the other day about some guys were down in Missouri, some buddies of mine, and they were even telling me that they believe because of the high population of predators right now, those turkeys are just vocalizing differently.
Oh, really?
Just not vocalizing as much. Changing roost locations more frequently than they probably experienced in the past. So there's obviously nature changes, nature evolves. So definitely predation is not a great thing for the turkey population.
No, it's not. And man, coyotes are smart. So, like I've got a spot where I see turkeys roost all the time, always there. So fall, spring, throughout the year, they've just got this group of trees that I see them in. And what I found is that coyotes have started to den. They're like within 200 yards of where these turkeys fly up. There's a den where coyotes go, and it's like, that's wild to me. They're right there. They're so close to where those turkeys are.
What do you think about the bobcats too? I mean, up here in Michigan, we have a lot of bobcats. You got bobcats, coyotes, and coons, and who knows what else is out there. But yeah, it definitely puts a beating on the turkeys. And what I like about turkeys, there's so many youth opportunities to get kids involved in turkeys. It's a low pressure situation. A lot of public land opportunities. So yeah, we need to take care of the turkeys for sure.
For sure, and like for a kid. Even I love taking new hunters turkey hunting, because to be out and to show them what an owl hoot sounds like, they look at you like, "What are you doing?" And then you hear that, it's just like, and then when you hear them up close and you can hear them drumming and you hear them spitting, and they, it's it's so dramatic that it's like any new hunter, if you want like true excitement, like you got to check that out.
Well, what I like too is like when I was in Nebraska, my son was real young. We could get, tags when he was super young, and we weren't ready to do the gun thing, so we were able to use crossbows, or he was able to use crossbows, and just getting him acclimated, understanding woodsmanship, understanding turkeys, and then not getting behind a weapon that goes bam, and yet you have a with the target acquisition, knowing how to get on a scope on a turkey, and then from a lethalness perspective and the accuracy of a crossbow for a kid. I tell you what, I still look back at my son and how I got him introduced to, crosshairs and aiming and where to place a shot, and not, recoiling when he's getting freaked out about a gun going off. So not only in addition to all the great things in the nature that they get to hear, from owls to gobbles to hen activity, it's just phenomenal. I'm very, very fortunate and blessed that we're able to do it that way.
Yeah, so fun. And you got like a couple days before your season starts, so that's I'll be closely following to see what pictures you put up in the next week or two.
Yeah, for sure, James. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, want to just spend a quick amount of time just saying, reminding everybody about the different type of woods that you'll be in the spring. Things like merino wool, super important, moisture wicking, breathable. It's a very handy thing to have is like a rain or water resistant, puffy coat. Some of these very basic things. And what we found is, as 2O has a lot of those. And like I said, you couple that with really solid camouflage and you've got a fantastic mix. So just wanted to take a few minutes, have you here on here to catch up, Aaron, and then just talk a little bit about, for anybody who's listening, you're looking for some clothes this year, some things to pay attention to. There's a lot more information at the website, 2ogear.com, so go check that out. And Aaron, I appreciate you taking the time today. Thanks a ton.
Yeah, James, thanks a lot. And also check out our social channels. We're crushing it. If you like watching fun storylines and good posts, so check that out as well. And look forward to talking to you soon again, James.
Cool. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yep.
All right.